In today's video, we're going to be talking about some massive news surrounding an AEW controversy from AEW Dynamite, plus so much more. You're not going to want to miss it. It's all coming up right here on The Ango Show. Yes. All right, guys, I want to kick things off with some CM Punk news. We talked about CM Punk's contract. There was obviously a lot of talk online about his situation, whether or not he would be renegotiating with the company. So I figured let's give you a big update. For those who missed it, CM Punk took to Instagram and addressed it with a shared post. I used to rush to defend myself against false accusations, but now I watch to see who believes it, so I know who to cut off first. Now, this all stems from Dave Meltzer talking about CM Punk's contract basically ending this month and that he's restructuring it and there's plans for him to be here long term. And obviously we know Ibu of Wrestle Pierce was talking about this, and this just became this huge topic on social media, obviously rightfully so. But I do want to chime in on this. I think CM Punk inevitably will be with WWE for a long time, regardless if he's signing a new contract or not. I don't think that really matters at this point. It sounds like it is fake news, and that's why we are talking about it and addressing it. But I do think it is important to acknowledge that things have been going extremely well between him and WWE, and it's very obvious that that bridge with AEW has been burned. And I think for CM Punk being in WWE, it's just the right situation. It's right for him. It's right for the WWE. It makes a lot of business sense. And from a fan's perspective, everybody seems to be enjoying it. And I know for a fact that I enjoy not seeing negative headlines every day. So all in all, a win-win situation. Guys, let's talk a little bit about David Arquette being at AEW Blood and Guts. Omer from Real Take Wrestling actually sent me this image, which I thought was really dope. David Arquette being at AEW. If he shows up on AEW, it's not going to look, people are going to constantly compare AEW to WCW, and that is what it is. But David Arquette is somebody who is a fan of wrestling, right? Obviously, we know his history as a former WCW world champion, but at the same time, too, this guy still loves pro wrestling. He did some indie stuff in the last few years. It's not really shocking or weird or strange to me that he would actually be present at the event. There was also talk and some rumors that went online that he was actually backstage at the event as well. Whether or not that's just visiting or actually having discussions with AEW, we don't know. There's no clarification on that. But I did want to talk about that because you never know with AEW. AEW does love the nostalgia of WCW. I think obviously they've been heavily compared to WCW. I do think it would be kind of strange for them to put David Arquette in a program when there's so many other people that should be utilized. But at the same time, too, I think it is worth discussing because David Arquette is David Arquette. He obviously still holds a little bit of name value even outside of wrestling. And, it is what it is. I think for him being there, it just seems like a fan experience type of thing. But yeah, he was apparently backstage at the company's show. Whether or not something actually comes from this, who knows? But obviously it is worth discussing. I do want to point out too, with AEW, there's a lot of stuff with TV deals, a lot of talks about them with WBD. David Arquette, obviously Hollywood actor. You have to wonder if there could be some opportunity for them to work together, especially considering WBD and stuff like that. But for now, let's just call it what it is. He was there visiting, quite surprising. Was backstage apparently. Who knows what will come from it? Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated if anything does come from it, but I'm going to predict that nothing will come from it. And that's going to lead us to our next topic of today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, Meiko Satomura has returned to the WWE in WWE Live Japan. She teamed up with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill in a women's tag team trios match. Meiko Satomura, we haven't seen her on WWE television. We haven't seen her on NXT. We know that she did some stuff on DDT Pro, but for the most part, it's been largely confusing as to what she's doing with the WWE. Triple H hasn't put her on the main roster. Shawn Michaels hasn't put her on NXT television. I don't really know what's going on here. She showed up in Japan, and obviously WWE was going to do that. And obviously, if you look on social media, you can see the videos of her and her performance. The fans were obviously very happy to see her. But what's the deal? It doesn't sound like she's living in America. It doesn't sound like they have plans for Satomura to come into television. I have to wonder if this is more so a play for WWE's global expansion. And Meiko Satomura would actually be the perfect candidate to help WWE out in regards to that global footprint that they're trying to have, because Meiko Satomura is obviously a legend in the business. She is highly respected in Japan, and if WWE plans to expand in Japan, she could be a very good spokesperson for them when trying to assume those relationships or recruiting efforts. So definitely something to pay attention to. But I do wonder about her in-ring career with WWE. And I just kind of want to throw this out there too. There are a lot of matchups I still want to see with her on WWE television. So even if WWE doesn't have plans to use her actively, I would love to see that they give her a major send-off for when the time is right. Maybe one final run, and then they could celebrate her retirement. It would be really cool and respectful if WWE did that. That is something I would love to see. Let's get to the controversy. AEW did a chair shot to the head with Jack Perry, and social media, of course, is going absolutely wild with this. Now, this is controversial because chair shots to the head, as we know it, with CTE and brain injuries and everything that we know about those medical related issues, a lot of people looked at this as a very, very dumb idea. Now, Tony Khan is somebody who has expressed multiple times in media scrums and interviews that they have the safest track record in professional wrestling. And obviously, when people see a chair shot to the head, that's the first thing they respond to. Corey Graves spoke out about this, and his statement was relatively nice. I mean, it wasn't like a us versus them type of thing. He made it pretty clear this wasn't a tribalist thing. He was just talking about it from an experience where obviously we all know Corey Graves, due to headshots and stuff like that. Like, he can't wrestle, right? He put out a tweet. A lot of people fired back at him. Then you have other people tweeting about it, and they're getting fired back at. Then we find out today from Dave Meltzer that Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, that this chair shot, or this chair, was completely rigged and it was done safely. So let's just play devil's advocate. Do I advocate for chair shots to the head? No, absolutely not. I think we've learned a lot about brain injuries and just all of that stuff. I don't think so. However, you would be a fool to think that AEW is just randomly throwing chair shots to the head without rigging the weapon to ensure safety. I think Tony Khan may not be the greatest booker, and I think Tony Khan might have some really shitty creative ideas. You will never hear me say that Tony Khan is not going to do what is best for his talent in keeping them safe. And so I'm going to assume that Tony Khan would have not allowed this spot to happen, regardless of who was taking the chair shot. He would have not allowed it to happen if it wasn't done in a safe manner. And therefore, I don't really understand why this is such a controversial thing. If the chair is being rigged and, all this shit, I'm good with it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think down below.